It was a crisp autumn morning in September 2024, the kind where the air bites just enough to make your coffee feel like a lifeline. I was standing at my kitchen window in my ranch house outside Boise, Idaho, watching the world wake up. The Bitterroot Valley stretched out quiet, and still cattle grazing lazily in the distance, a few sparrows chattering in the pines. My mug was steaming, too hot to sip, when something caught my eye. A neon orange arrow sign, bold as a slap, was staked into the ground at the edge of the county road, pointing straight at my locked gate. It read, Realtor Showcase 200. I blinked, thinking I'd misread it, but then I saw another sign, and another, a trail of them leading right to my property like I was hosting the county fair. My phone buzzed in my pocket, and I pulled it out to find an email with the subject line, Ranch Reservation Confirmation. My hands shook as I opened it, coffee sloshing onto the counter. The email was from Karen Whitlock, president of the HOA for the fancy new subdivision, Crestview Estates, that borders my land. It was short, smug, and to the point. My ranch had been reserved for a Realtor Showcase event tomorrow afternoon, expecting 200 real estate agents for a community tour. It even mentioned some nonsense about trail access rights under their covenants, conditions, and restrictions and just like their neighborhood rules applied to my private property. I scrolled further and found a map attachment with a geofence pin dropped right at my front gate. Not their clubhouse or a public park, but my locked entrance. My coffee tasted like ash. This wasn't a mistake. This was a takeover. I stepped outside, the gravel crunching under my boots, and met my neighbor Tom, who was already snapping photos of the signs from his side of the fence. You throwing a party, Matt? He asked, grinning like he knew this was trouble. I shook my head, trying to laugh it off, but my gut was twisting. First I'm hearing of it, Tom. He suggested I document everything, and he was right, those photos would save me later. As I walked the line of signs, each one screaming, Realtor Showcase 200, a car slowed down on the road. A woman in a blazer stepped out, phone in hand, looking puzzled as she stared at my gate. This the check-in for the Realtor event, she called, waving her screen at me. The app showed a red dot right at my gate's coordinates. I told her this was private property, not an event venue, and her face felt like she'd been tricked. She showed me the same email from Karen, forwarded through her agency. I'm so sorry, she said, retreating to her car to call someone for answers. Tom raised an eyebrow. This is just the start, isn't it? I nodded, feeling the weight of it. I called the county sheriff's non-emergency line, reporting unauthorized signs, an unapproved event, and a potential trespassing nightmare. By mid-morning, things got weirder. Orange traffic cones lined the county road shoulder, and someone had set up a check-in table with a pop-up tent, like they were ready to sell tickets to my ranch. A vendor truck rolled up, and a guy with a clipboard and a tool belt started eyeing my gate's lock. I intercepted him before he could touch it. HOA cleared this job, he said, barely looking up. I'm here to ensure access for the showcase. I told him this was my land, not community property, and asked for his insurance certificate. He handed me a folder, but my name wasn't listed as an additional insured. The paperwork called my gate a community ranch access point, which was flat out wrong. Tom, who'd appeared like he had a radar for chaos, pointed out the cones and tent were on public right-of-way without permits. The vendor's confidence wavered as he called his dispatcher, and I could hear the panic creeping into his voice. A realtor nearby, heels sinking into the dirt, shouted, "We paid for access. Why's the lock still on?" Phones came out, filming, some streaming live. I grabbed a poster board from my truck and wrote in bold marker, "No event without owner's written permission." I taped it to the gate, making my stance crystal clear. The county clerk, Sarah Thompson, called back about the road encroachments. No permits had been filed for the cones or tent, and events over 50 people needed special approvals, none of which existed. I sent her photos of the setup and the vendor's paperwork. She promised a deputy would swing by and warned that unpermitted structures could be removed with citations. Meanwhile, more cars arrived, realtors piling up on the road. Some laughing like this was a big adventure, others annoyed, checking their apps and muttering about GPS errors. Tom pulled up the county GIS map on his phone, confirming no public access rights existed for my land. Then he spotted some Thinga proposed easement, marked under review, not approved, running from Crestview to my gate. Someone had seen a draft plan and treated it like law, programming GPS coordinates, and sending out invites without my consent. Things took a darker turn when Tom jogged over, out of breath. "They're trying the back way," he said. I grabbed my keys and drove to the utility easement along my rear fence, where a group in business attire was walking the access road like it was a public trail. A woman with a clipboard, claiming to be an event planner, said they'd been told the easement allowed access to my ranch. I pointed to the signs posted by the power company, stating, "Authorized utility personnel only." Right on cue, Greg Larson, the utility technician, pulled up in his truck. He showed them legal documents proving the easement was for maintenance only, not events, and posted a closure notice for a scheduled inspection that afternoon. The group's confidence crumbled as Greg explained the safety risks of high-voltage lines. They left, muttering, their backup plan dead. Back at the county office, Sarah dug deeper. She found the county consent email Karen sent was spoofed from the HOA server, not county systems. The headers didn't match, and a consent.jpg attachment a supposed scanned approval had metadata showing it was created days ago, not weeks as claimed. Sarah circled the evidence in red ink. "This isn't a mistake, Matt. It's fraud." My stomach dropped. Forging county approval wasn't just bold, it was criminal. She sent the files to the county IT team and confirmed no permits or consents were on record. The deputy, now on site, added this to his report, noting the deliberate deception. That afternoon, Karen called, her voice dripping with HOA president authority. She claimed the showcase was critical for Crestviews MLS certification, needing 200 attendees to maintain their real estate standing. I asked why she thought my ranch was available. She rambled about implied trail access and community cooperation, but I cut her off. "Trails don't make my land your venue, Karen." She offered to send a route sheet to prove the minimal impact. I told her to go ahead, and within minutes, my inbox pinged. The document listed my gate as the final stop for 200 agents at 2:30 tomorrow, complete with the HOA logo and a detailed schedule. I printed it, laid it on my kitchen table next to my coffee mug, and snapped a photo. This was no accident, it was planned, documented, and deliberate. By late afternoon, a locksmith arrived to cut my gate's lock, waving a work order from the HOA. I showed him the insurance certificate still missing my name and my sign. The deputy, now back, reviewed the paperwork and confirmed the event lacked authorization. Realtors shouted, "Just cut it." But the locksmith backed off, refusing to risk liability with cameras rolling. Karen arrived, flustered, trying to argue community rights, but the deputy shut her down. "Private property is private property, ma'am." He issued citations for the unpermitted cones and tent, ordering them cleared. The crowd grew restless, some filming, others complaining about driving hours for nothing. The MLS app crashed the event, disabling the check-in and logging attendance as canceled, costing the HOA their certification credits. As the sun set, Karen approached with a written apology from the HOA board. They admitted to organizing the event without permission, promised to fix GPS coordinates, censured Karen for a year, and agreed to pay the county fines. Sarah updated permit guidelines to clarify easement rules, and I got an email from a new broker a proper request for a future event, with a deposit and correct insurance. The contrast was stark. The deputy handed me his report, documenting the forgery, GPS errors, and unpermitted setups. Tom and I stood by the gate as the last cars left, the ranch quiet again, just cattle and wind. My updated insurance papers arrived, reinforcing that only I control access. I ran my hand along the gate, its lock untouched, a simple barrier that stopped an invasion. This wasn't just a mix-up, it was a calculated gamble that I wouldn't fight back. But I did, and the evidence photos, emails, route sheets told a story of arrogance undone. So, what would you do if someone tried to claim your land for their own event? Would you open the gate to keep the peace, or hold the line like I did? What's the boldest overstep you've seen from a neighbor or HOA? Drop a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe for more stories of standing your ground. Let's hear your thoughts. This one's worth a fight.